In this video, we are going to understand trigonometric functions at different angles. So the core angles that which we are going to discuss in this video are 0, 30, 45, 60, etc. Or we can also call them as 0, pi by 6, which is equal to 30 degrees, pi by 4, which is equal to 45 degrees, etc. We are also going to understand what is positive and negative angle, and also the behavior of sine, cosine, and tan in the different quadrants of a circle. Also, we are going to understand why pi radians is 180 degrees or pi is equal to 180 degrees. So please stay on the video. If you like the channel, please like, share, and subscribe with your friends. It will be helpful for them also. Thank you so much. Let's continue with the discussion now. Now let us understand what a positive angle means. So let us consider a point O and create a line OA. So this is our starting line. So this we can call this initial side. Now what we do is we push this line in anti-clockwise direction. So when we push this line upwards, so the new position of line OA, let's mark it as OB. Now OA has reached here. So this angle formed, we can call it as theta. And this position now is called terminal side. Because we started here, we initiated here, and we terminated the movement here. So OA was the initial side and OB is the terminal side. Now we pushed this ray or line in anti-clockwise direction. So that is very important. See, anti-clockwise is always considered a positive angle. So please keep this in mind. Next, let us understand what is a negative angle. Now let's consider the point O and the same line OA. Now what we want to do is, so now this will be the initial side. Now we want to push this line in the clockwise direction and bring it to a position B. Now this is negative theta because the movement of this line OA was in clockwise direction. So please note this down. Whenever the angle formed is in clockwise direction, then we call it a negative angle. So theta and negative theta. So theta is pronounced THETA. So this is a standard convention you will use throughout your trigonometry journey as well as in advanced calculus and other topics. So please note this down: positive angle and negative angle. We are going to use this definitions or understandings in the future video where we try to determine what is the value of sine at 0, 30, cos at 0, 30, etc. Now let's understand quadrants or quadrants of a circle. So let us consider two lines which are intersecting each other perpendicular at point O. Now we see that there are four quadrants that are formed. We consider this to be the first quadrant, Y dash second quadrant, Y dash O and X dash O and Y dash as third quadrant, and Y dash 0 X as the fourth quadrant. Now we just learned that when the angle is measured in anti-clockwise direction, we consider it to be positive. So now the angle that we just formed, this is 90 degrees. Now, if we start again on this x1 axis in the first quadrant and move up to x dash, then the angle covered is 180 degrees. Now, if we continue to move this to y dash in the third quadrant, this will be 270 degrees. So basically what we are doing is every quadrant that we move, we gain 90 degrees when we are moving in anti-clockwise direction. So now when we complete the one full circle and reach back to the initial point, so the total angle covered is 360 degrees. So for example, now let's consider the axis here. Let's mark this x, x1 or x dash, y, y dash. Now let's start on the x-axis and now move in opposite direction and reach y dash. So now the angle formed is minus 90 degrees. So similar way, if we continue this and reach x dash, this is minus 180 degrees. Why are we considering this to be negative? By definition, whenever we measure an angle in clockwise direction, it is considered to be a negative angle. Now let us try to understand why pi is equal to 180 degrees or pi radians is equal to 180 degrees. So let us consider this unit circle. When we say unit circle, the meaning is that the radius is 1 unit. It can be anything, 1 centimeter, 1 meter, it's 1 unit. Now let's consider we are at point A. Now we have to reach point B. So the path traversed is from OA up to OB. So basically we covered half the circumference of the circle. So we know that circumference of a circle is 2 times pi radius. Now the radius is 1, so it is 2 pi times 1. But here the total circumference we covered is only half of it, correct? So now what would AOB be? AOB, when we traverse that path, we reach half of 2 times pi times 1 because radius is 1. So we reach it as pi. So the angle traversed is pi radians because when we calculate it in pi terms, we call it as radians. That's the standard. We will discuss that in separate playlist. Now, in a circle, the total angle is 360 degrees if we complete one full circle. Here we are only traveling half of the circumference, so half of 360, which is 180 degrees. So that's why pi is equal to 180 degrees. So this is a very important relation that you have to keep in mind and also know how we actually arrived at pi is equal to 180 degrees. Now, what if we only reached a new point called point C here? Basically, we traveled only up to point C, which is 90 degrees. So 90 degrees means we traveled pi by 2, and that will also be equal to 180 by 2, correct? And pi by 2 is nothing but 90 degrees. So if we understand pi is equal to 180 degrees, we can easily find out what are the other ratios like 30 degrees, 45 degrees, etc.